have people who are controlling virtually everything economically, geopolitically. Their agenda has been population manipulation, population control for millennia. There's an extraordinary revolution taking place right now that has a lot to do with 528. 528 is something very special. It will change your life in the most beneficial way because having sustainability, having the freedom for prospering in all ways, that kind of freedom is a heartfelt drive, a desire, a motivation in each of us. And in fact, that is really what our source, our creator has in mind, intended for us. And as everything is shifting, not only the geopolitics and the economics, but also this whole concept of the cosmic alignment, things that are moving into place not only in our own lives, but also in the entire universe.
Music is frequency programming. Music is frequency. What frequency are you being fed? If I play with those frequencies, right, I can target certain parts of the mind, target the frequency to go to certain parts of the mind, and I can literally, if I want you to astral project, or if I want you to go to sleep, or if I want you to go into a meditative state, I can make my music do that.
I began to investigate 528 by a divine revelation that was given to a Dr. Joseph Paleo back in 1997, along with the original musical scale, the original solfeggio. It was 6 notes by which the hymn to St. John the Baptist was sung. That was known as the most spiritually uplifting hymn of all the ages. And the 3rd note of that scale was miracle note, 528. It was ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la, and the 3rd note, mi, miragistorum in Latin, means miracles in English, a love frequency. It was the prophesied key to the house of David. In the book of Isaiah in the Old Testament, 22:22, and in book of Revelation 3:6-8, it talks in the end times about an angel from Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love, coming and heralding a miraculous key that opened doors that no man can close and closed doors that no man can open. Now we have substantive evidence, massive amounts of evidence that is what 528 is. The doors to people's hearts. It is the doors to love. It is the doors to faith and joy that is inherent, and it's our destiny to fulfill that level of freedom of expression that we can't have, because ultimately what has happened with this planet is that we are in dissonance to another note, another frequency. It turned out that when we discovered the original musical scale, there was not just 6, but a total of 9 core creative frequencies to the universe. That is, everything in the universe is made from 9 notes, only 9. And that the first 6 are the solfeggio, and then there's 3 additional ones that form a perfect circle of sound. And that perfect circle of sound looks something like this. The first 6 notes, 396, 417, 528, 639, 741, 852, was the original solfeggio scale. The 528 that you can see on my left in green is the color green. It's the heart of the rainbow. That's the miracle note from the original solfeggio scale. And the other note that you see, 741, which is part of nature, is called the devil's interval in musicology. That when you play 741 with 528, it creates such an annoying and dissonant energy, diseasing, stressful, that if you continue to listen to it, you could die.
The brain processes information electrically. It communicates with the cellular structure electrically, and it operates within a certain band of frequency. If you can broadcast frequencies carrying information, this technology has long been known, carrying information and perceptions within the frequency that the brain decodes information, the brain will decode those frequencies and will have those perceptions. You can externally influence people's perceptions externally by broadcasting these frequencies that we interact with, because we are antenna.
The sad reality is that where we now play our music is in A440. Where did that come from? It used to be 417. A440 came in with the Roman Catholic Church. They suppressed the frequencies. They lost somehow the 152 of the best Gregorian chants, including the hymn to St. John the Baptist, which we've now recovered. That particular hymn was what triggered Dr. Palaio's investigation, looking for those frequencies of vibration by which the music was played. It was known as the most uplifting hymn of all the ages, the most spiritually uplifting hymn. Hymn to St. John the Baptist was played to 6 tones. These are those 6 tones. These are those 6 frequencies. And so the A440 is what now is the standard tuning. If you go A439, you're closer to one of the Creator's tones. If you go A441, you're closer to one of the Creator's original tones. That's how precisely it has been manipulated. We have people who are controlling virtually everything economically, geopolitically. Their agenda has been population manipulation, population control for millennia. They have held the secret knowledge, the ancient music, by which the pyramids were constructed based on the math. All of the universe is constructed according to these 9 tones. They knew about them. In fact, they instituted. In fact, it was the Rockefeller Foundation in 1939 that instituted the world's standard tuning. The Western world tunes to A440 hertz frequency. That when you tune your instrument to that, the F sharp note is 741. Precisely. Not 7.41.1 or 0.2, it's 741, which meant that there was a clear, scientifically researched, and indeed that's exactly what happened. The 741 A440 link came out of military research in the 1930s to induce psychosocial stress and dis-ease to the max. It was selected that A440 would be the standard tuning for the Western world. Mass hysteria, end quote, could be induced by instituting that frequency. And now you begin to explain why you went from the era of Frank Sinatra, where women would mostly swoon over Frank. Suddenly, Elvis Presley, rioting began. It was scientifically determined for military acoustic warfare research that if you simply used A440 standard tuning, that you could engage about 6% of the population, perhaps, to actually go into this kind of crisis, into this hysteria. And that those people then, especially if they were televised and they were promoted and broadcast, could potentially affect a social, virtually British invasion. Now you begin to reconcile what happened. This information is all in the book of 528.
Some decades ago, there was a guy who worked out the frequencies of different emotional states. This is long ago. I mean, it's very, very sophisticated now. So every thought, every emotional response is a frequency. It generates a frequency, and it is of itself a frequency. Hate is a frequency, and it's different to love. You know, when you are in a room and there's lots of aggression and conflict and hatred, you feel it. What do people say? Oh God, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife in there. That is because the frequencies of hate and conflict have been so generated, they have changed the electromagnetic field of the room.
When you go driving your car and your channel on the radio is tuned to a station and you're grooving to the music, you love that music. As you get farther and farther away from the broadcasting tower, that music gets static. You start to lose the signal from the clear channel, broadcast, and it gets staticky. When it gets staticky, you get a little annoyed. But you want to listen to it. You really have a heart for that music, so you continue to listen to it for another 10, 15 miles, and suddenly it becomes so annoying that you just get disgusted, you go, ah, and you shut it off. And if you continue to listen to it, you'd get sick. That's what we're talking about here. Except you don't even know that you've been listening to the static your whole life. You don't even know what the true resonant frequency is because it has been kept from you. We need to make a choice. We have a choice to be in harmony, or we have a choice to remain in dissonance. This is the 528 love revolution. What's happening is that the doors to people's hearts are opening. In the hearts, that your heart center, your heart chakra, if you will, which spins in greenish yellow. That's the color of grass in the botanical world. That color of grass is that color because of 528. In fact, you would not have 5,280 feet in a measured mile if it wasn't for 528. You wouldn't have circles. You wouldn't have squares. You wouldn't have any sacred geometry. You wouldn't have pyramids. The pyramids are intimately constructed based on the mathematics of pi, phi. You wouldn't have pi or phi without 528. In other words, you wouldn't have anything without love. You would have nothing. The universe would not exist. 528, in essence, takes you from the heart of your heart through the heart of the rainbow, which is greenish yellow, to as above, so below, as it is in your own DNA, in chlorophyll, expressing the bounty and the glory of love throughout the botanical world. So it is in the Creator's heart. So we have a choice that we can remain in dissonance, or we could literally vibe to a new song. That's the fulfillment of the book of Revelation 14:1, where 144,000 people who hear this message, that they feel it in their hearts, and they make a choice to sing in a new key, a key of love. That requires us to get a new look at ourselves, to get over the traumas and the abuses and all of the issues of self-hate, all the little images that we've taken on from the mass mind-controlling media, that we compare ourselves with models 10s when we perceive ourselves to be 2s and 3s. We no longer love ourselves. Our hearts, the energy from our hearts, literally degenerate. That's how the manipulation and control has happened.